So how are you going to explain pollination, right? A child has to imagine a bee, a child has to imagine a flower, a child has to imagine dispersal of flower. All these are very, very difficult concepts for people. Everybody, you cannot expect everybody to have a vivid imagination, right? Right? Everybody's mind is not a Walt Disney movie. So what we thought, in a comic, in 2 images, I can teach you pollination, right? So the moment I understand the concept of pollination in a comic book, I would go back into my textbook and say, so this is 2 images explained in 3 pages. So I'll understand the concept. The teacher has succeeded, the student has succeeded in understanding a concept. In India, we don't drive concepts, right? We drive towards understanding, mugging up.
Today we are joined by edupreneur Abhishek Ramanuja. He is the co-founder of Learn with Comics and Portable, and he is working with Way Forward Edu. The intention of this podcast is to spread awareness around education and the problems faced by its various stakeholders, such as students, parents, and teachers, and to create a learning resource for all these stakeholders. And without further ado, let's just get straight into the questions. And starting from the very beginning, how did you get into the education space and what was your motivator?
Okay, yeah, hi. First, thank you guys for having me here. It's really good. So, I was listening to all your other podcasts and I see so many young people trying to change the education landscape. And it's really amazing and it's motivating, that people are doing stuff for children today. So, I think I can add a little value to it. Maybe we'll leave it to the viewers, to decipher what I'm trying to say. So let's begin. Your first question, where it all started. So I was working with a gaming company, and they had an education division. So we were making games, I think for the Xbox or some stuff like that. So it was a 3-floor office. So on the top floor was the education wing, and I used to see these guys taking boxes and boxes on top, and I was very intrigued. And one day I decided, okay, let me go see what these guys are actually up to. Actually, I was curious. So when I went up there and I saw, so we had a cleaner in that building. Her son was making something. So when I went inside and I saw there was like a huge 12-foot table filled with Legos. I grew up with Lego and it was really, I mean, everybody loves Legos. So I was wondering, they were making robots and robots which could move. Lego is something which is really exciting. And imagine a Lego that could move was absolutely mind blowing. So I go up to this kid. I live in Chennai. So I went and I asked him in Tamil. So I said, what are you making? And that guy, the child, he was about, I think, say about 10, 11 years old. He was possessed, right? He was building something. I'm like, what are you building? He's like, I'm making a robot, I'm adding these pulleys and everything. I said, whoa. I mean, those are different kinds of Legos. They're called the Mindstorms. And they are not the regular Legos, they are a bit different. So I'm like, where did you learn all this? He said, no, these guys have been teaching me. And something just struck me. I said, a child who probably is going to a government school, who's never seen a Lego, and who probably couldn't understand those instructions, because even I can't understand those instructions. They are pretty complicated. And I said, how? He said, no, I saw the picture and they taught me how to do it. And I started doing it. I said, this was, a complete eye opener for me, saying that a child who had no experience, who had no exposure to stuff like that, can actually create something. So when you come to technology like this, it's completely language agnostic, just like the comics. So you need to understand the concept. Once you understand the concept, any child anywhere in the country can do anything. So I thought to myself, why can't I make children do this? Well, Legos are very expensive. So I first started out by making these small robots, saying, we need to make it more affordable. Back then, I think about almost a decade ago, these guys, we were doing it in a lot of schools. We were charging about, say, 150 rupees a month. Back then, it was still expensive. Still, 150 rupees for a person earning 500 rupees a day is quite a lot. So that was the first spark, saying I wanted to make education affordable to everybody, right? See, just like food, education is as important. And if you don't study, right, if you don't have access to education, one, if you're not interested, it's fine. Nobody's going to force you. But if you're interested and you don't have access to it, It's wrong, right? And in a country where we have the best tech, we have the best brains, we have amazing universities, and imagine you cannot educate a child. That's really embarrassing after 70 years of independence that we're not able to educate all our children. So that was my first spark, where I wanted to get into the affordable education space. At that time, we didn't know what free education was and all that. YouTube was not very popular back then. It was there, but it was not that popular. And only a certain strata of society had access to it. And that too, we were just listening to music and watching videos on YouTube that time. So that's where it all started. And it's been 10 years. I'm still trying to do something. And hopefully, sometime in the future, I'll be able to create a dent. So that's the beginning. So it's going on. Now we're doing stuff with comics. Learn with comics is what I'm doing right now. So that is a very interesting thing. Learn with comics is basically comics. I don't know if you've read Tinkle. Tinkle had something called Anu Club, right? So that was the only science comic we had when we were growing up. It was 2-3 pages, and at that time I was not very keen on that. I preferred Supandi to Anu Club, but I realized that comics as an education was happening way back, but we never integrated that into the system. So Learn with Comics, we're trying to do that, making comics out of school lessons in multiple languages. So that's when we're doing it in Tamil, English, Hindi. So we're adding other regional languages soon. So we have around, I think, 500 comics now. So I hope to add another 2,000, 3,000 to that eventually. So we're doing from grade 5 to 12. So it's been almost a year now. So it's going pretty well. So we hope to reach a lot of students through this podcast.
Like you said, comics aren't something that are considered like conventionally educational. They existed back then as something educational, but it wasn't really integrated into our day-to-day curriculum. What prompted you to explore them as a learning tool, and why are they so effective?
So a very simple thing, we see comics or comic strips in everyday life, right? So what we do is we see comics, but we don't realize they're actually something that we're trying to do. So for example, if you walk into a bank, so you'll have 50 different posters telling you what to do, what not to do, or simple, go into an ATM. So you have this, they draw a picture on how you put the card, how you put the PIN number. That's basically a comic strip, right? On how you do a certain thing. So we've used, in India at least, we've used comic strips to educate the people, but we've never thought about putting that in school, right? So there are comics everywhere. Don't cross the road, no jaywalking, no defecating in public, no urinating in public, don't cross the railway tracks, right? These are all comic strips, right? So just like there is a visual linguist called Dr. Neil Cohen. So what Dr. Neil Cohen says is basically that comics are also like a language, right? Visuals are also a language. They are structured. You have an entire, cognition, development, everything, right? So visual language also has a vocabulary, like just like your regular speaking and your sign language. So let me give you a small example. So can you draw a stick man for me? Yeah, that's about it. So I'm writing, this is a boy. Super. So how you drew the head first, you drew the body, then you drew the hands, and then you drew the legs.
Yeah.
There was structure to it. You didn't start with the leg.
No.
You didn't start with the body. When you wrote a sentence, this is a boy. So you didn't write boy first. You wrote a proper sentence.
Yeah.
Right? Visual narrative has an exact same structure like that. And you can teach pretty much anything. If you see all these COVID posters today, when you go to rural areas in India, it's easy to drop a pamphlet, right? So it has to have everything on it, right? So the basic idea is to tell you that just like writing and sign language, drawing too has, a proper structure to it. So if utilized properly, this can be a great tool, great tool in our country. You can teach anything, right? In India, there's a huge problem right now that we have, right? You cannot, technology penetration is there, but not everywhere. So if I have to teach something to somebody, how am I going to reach them, right? I can make a simple comic like COVID, take a jab. People are scared to take a jab, right? So how do I tell them your body is to develop a resistance? A vaccine is going to protect you from a virus. How are you going to explain a vaccine? How are you going to explain a virus? Right? They all know COVID is something is going to come and kill you. It's like an invisible monster, right? To a lot of people. So using comics, you can teach a lot of things. You can explain, right? You can draw like you just drew right now. I can explain any concept. You want to explain thermodynamics, you want to explain black holes, you can teach pretty much anything with comics. So that's what we thought, is pretty effective. And the government too, I think last month, the government of India has launched comics. So we are looking to, get on that as well. So I think for grade 3 and 4, they've launched comics. So I think comics are a great way, and comics are also language agnostic. So you don't really have to, work on the content, written content, because drawing is an image is self-explanatory. Like when we travel to countries where they don't speak English, which is the restroom for men, the restroom for women. How do we know that? It's just an image, and it communicates to everybody in every language. So we thought if it works for adults, who are the most difficult category to train, right? Imagine giving your dad WhatsApp, he will ask you 5,000 questions, right? Just give him a small book saying, Pop, here, this is the thing. Just read this, and with 6 images, you can teach everything. Right from your good touch, bad touch, to consent. How will you explain consent to anybody? They'll say, what's wrong? You know, I just gave you a hug. What's wrong? How will you explain consent to a person who doesn't have any idea about the concept? So a small comic, we actually are releasing a comic today on consent. So it's simple. So I can teach anything through comics, science, math, English, any language. So that's the whole idea. So we're trying to go into that space and telling children, it's fun. So I think I hope it's going to work out. People welcome it. So far, we've had a good number of people who are liking it. So I want to take it mainstream. Of course, over the next, it'll take a decade for us to actually become mainstream. So we are ancillary right now. Even if I have the same content as a textbook, people are not going to take me seriously because comics are for fun. So that's the whole idea behind comics and why I think they're a great tool.
I think one of the things that you spoke about, which really stuck with me, was the point of accessibility. That regardless of language, regardless of where you come from, images are universal. Um, and I think that's a great idea. And even at the very beginning, you spoke about economic accessibility and how you sort of got into education. So, with all three, Learn with Comics, Portable, Way Forward Edu, there's a distinct focus on the tools being accessible to everyone, regardless of socioeconomic background and language. Can you share a little bit more about the whole idea of attention to accessibility?
So, see, universal access to education, like the inclusion is like a lifelong journey, right? So, what happens is any economy or country or society to prosper, education has played a very vital role, right? So, a basic education can get you a decent job. A decent job can get you a decent life. So, decent life is, it brings you out of poverty. If you study 10th standard, you can get a clerical job. If you study 12th standard, you can probably get a data entry job. When you finish college, you can get some job. So education plays a vital role in society. It can lift anybody from poverty. So that's the whole idea. And as I said, education should be it's a fundamental right. Everybody should have access to it. Somebody studying in a very wealthy private school to a student studying in a very, say, a government school, right? They should have the same access and they should have the same education, right? It's all the same. End of the day, we are striving to earn money, build a country. You're proud to say I'm Indian, I'm from India, because we produce a lot of good students. And imagine with the infrastructure that we currently have, we're able to produce so much. If we actually focus on making education more affordable, I believe, I don't believe in the state board, CBSE, IB, ICSE. Why should we have so many boards, right? Education is simple. Physics is physics across boards, right? So everybody should get, like in Way Forward, we do simulation tools, right? So I want a person studying in a very big school and a person studying in a very small school to learn the same thing. because that's got no difference. It doesn't, as long as you're learning, which is the key of everything, that's more than enough. And it should be affordable, right? So 30 rupees a month, 20 rupees a month is something where everybody can do, right? If you can go to school, you can afford 20 rupees. A pair of lace costs 20 rupees for your shoes. So, and people will be willing to give you 20 rupees if you want to learn something. Somebody comes up to you, if your housekeeper comes to you and says, I want to learn something, I want to put my son in something, it costs me, 300 rupees a year. I'll be like, take it. Up to 5,000, if I can afford it, why not? Right? So I want to, education should not be related to socioeconomic background. They are both completely independent, and right now in India, it's not, but I want them to be completely independent. Right? You should have access to education, rich or poor, doesn't matter. Race, ethnicity, religion, nothing comes in. Learning, getting out of poverty, finding yourself a decent job, not being a burden to society. So these are the four fundamental principles which I believe we should tell everybody, and that's what I focus on. Everything I make, an inspiration is definitely my father. He's an architect, and he's always talked about affordable healthcare and affordable housing, right? Healthcare, education, housing, food. These are the four things, your kana kapda makan. So these are fundamental things, right? Education is also fundamental, and I believe everybody should have access to it. I'm trying, and there are a lot of people in India who are trying to do that. Hopefully, someday we will succeed.
Yeah, it's a big country and there are a
Yes.
lot of challenges
Yeah.
that come with it. And one of them, like you mentioned, that there are so many boards and there are so many technicalities that keep acting like, hurdles towards this ulterior goal, towards attaining education. And in a lot of ways, they create stress as well. I think with the whole idea of Learn with Comics, where comics are, stress free for fun, they're not, like you said, conventionally associated with education. And so I'm just coming back to that idea that Learn with Comics highlights this entire idea of creating a stress free environment. How do we take away all the frills from education and take it back down to its core
Right.
for the student? Is there any way to eliminate some of the stressors for the student?
Absolutely. So there's something called bibliophobia, right? Some people are scared of books. Why are you scared of books, especially school textbooks? Our Indian textbooks are not very welcoming, right? So even our history textbooks don't have pictures, right? Why would I want to learn about Sepoy Mutiny when I don't even know an image, right? I just have like pages and pages and pages of text telling me what to do. The moment you don't understand a text, right, what happens? There is a sort of fear that creeps in to you. Say, assuming in sixth standard, you're not able to understand physics. Say in grade five, okay? So grade six, it creeps in, and that small fear manifests into a monster. As you grow older, you have a complete aversion to the subject, right? So when was the last time, I assume that you recently graduated out of school? When was the time you said, my physics teacher was amazing? He showed me something in class which was amazing. We never have teachers like that, though they are good. But do they tell you what happens in physics? Push and pull, they'll say, okay, one of you come out holding, this is push, this is pull. That's not how it happens, right? So some people understand, some people don't. Some people can read and understand, some people can see visuals and understand, like the boy I told you who made a robot. He didn't read, he just saw a visual, right? So to eliminate this stress, what we believe, say for example, I want to teach pollination, right? When was the last time you saw a bee? I don't remember seeing a bee, at least not the ones with those stripes. I don't remember seeing a bee. I've seen beehives probably, I think, 8, 10 years ago somewhere. I saw a hive. I didn't see a bee. So, how are you going to explain pollination, right? Our child has to imagine a bee, a child has to imagine a flower, a child has to imagine dispersal of flower. All these are very, very difficult concepts for people. Everybody, you cannot expect everybody to have a vivid imagination, right? Right? Everybody's mind is not a Walt Disney movie. So what we thought, in a comic, in 2 images, I can teach you pollination, right? So the moment I understand the concept of pollination in a comic book, I would go back into my textbook and say, so this is 2 images explained in 3 pages. So I'll understand the concept. The moment I understand the concept, I'll be able to write. right? You might not be able to write in your own in English. That's fine. If you're able to do it in a vernacular language, you've succeeded. The teacher has succeeded. The student has succeeded in understanding a concept. In India, we don't drive concepts, right? We drive towards understanding, mugging up. Basically, I sucked at mugging, right? I used to think I was an idiot back in school because I just could not learn anything by heart. Three sentences I could not learn by heart. I'm like, oh my God, I'm such a bad student. I'm not able to mug up anything. But today I realize, my God, I was an intelligent student. Maybe I just didn't realize my potential back then. So, and there are a lot of backbenchers like me across the country, right? So, for us, people like us, for us, it's a great tool. Comics is a great tool for me to understand a concept. If I understand a concept, I can explain anything to anybody, right? So, for example, if you want to explain, yesterday Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos came back. A few days back, Richard Branson came back from space. So, when you imagine space, everybody will think few kilometers from the moon, right? But space is anything over our atmosphere. We have several layers: the stratosphere, this sphere, that sphere, everything. So those kind of things, how will you explain with just a drawing? We just have lines. If you see the book, there'll be one line: stratosphere, this sphere, that sphere. That's not gonna help. A simple comic can help you understand. I hated geography, and I hated geology because rocks are so boring. They make you sleep. But we made rocks a comic a few months back. So we thought reinvention of the wheel, how the early man came up with the wheel, right? When he came up with the wheel, so we thought, we should put a narrative about how the early man invented the wheel. We built a story around it. So we understood pulley, lever, and basically, what a metamorphic rock is. So then you read about volcanoes. And I've read all this in school, right? But they never stuck to my head because I thought they were eye gougingly boring. So now when I read it as a comic that I made, I'm not boasting. So when I see it as a comic, I'm like, oh, rocks is actually a very interesting topic. So when I go now, I look for a rock. Like, I live near the beach in Chennai. So when I go to the beach now, I look at stones. I'm like, oh, so what can the stone be? Or what can the shell be? So I'm grown up now. So if you can kindle an interest in me, I just said, the moment you're an adult, right, your mind is closed. You cannot learn anything new. Okay. When you grow up, you can't learn anything. So if I have curiosity, if it sparks curiosity in an adult, imagine what a child can do if you teach a fourth grader, okay, what a moon rock is. I believe now every school should have something like an image, a moon rock. A moon rock is something, a meteor, right? So I've never seen a meteor. My uncle was a geologist, so he used to show me a meteor. So I'm like, now I wish, oh my God, that day I'll be like, oh, it's just a rock. But a meteor is from outer space. And so many interesting things which completely remove the stress. Boring subjects become interesting. And stress comes from lack of understanding. So comics, I believe, can, completely clear that doubt, push that away, get students to actually read a book. When you understand, explain a concept in simple terms, and then you give them a book, they'd probably be interested, in doing it. So that's the whole idea. It definitely decreases the stress. Maybe 10 years down the line, maybe we'll be using comics instead of textbooks. So
Yeah.
let's see how that goes.
So you mentioned about being a backbencher and how you consistently thought that you were a bad student simply because you didn't perform well in the way you were supposed to. And I think giving and learning are two fundamentally different skills. And it's never been more clear than during the pandemic when everything shifted online, all our tests shifted online. And we know that the pandemic will have a huge impact on all sectors of our life. It will change the way we do a number of things. How do you think education will change? And what role will EdTech play in that change?
So it's changing as we speak, right? So maybe a year and a half before, 18 months before, online class was something very fancy, right? To be very honest, only the rich, the middle class and the upper middle class and the rich had access to online education and online classes. But thanks to the pandemic, every child today is doing online class, right? So I met my security guard, his son. He said, sir, every day online class, I have to leave my phone. I can't bring it to work. So I said, what? I said, yeah, my son is learning online. They go to a government school. So Tamil Nadu government has organized online classes. So the teacher sends videos every day to all the students. So it's a tech, 18 months back that penetration was not there, right? Nobody knew, even your housekeepers or your security guards, people who are on the lower rung of society, of the economic strata, they don't know anything on school. Go to school, come back, go to school, come back, go to tuition, come back. Today they know they don't really have to go to school. And 18 months back, their children were downloading games on the phone. They had access to a basic smartphone. They were downloading games, watching videos on YouTube. Today, my security guard tells me my daughter is learning something on YouTube. So my housekeeper, she learned tailoring on YouTube. So yesterday she stitched herself a suit. I'm like, oh, are you going out? She said, no, I just saw it on YouTube. Your mom gave me her sari and I made it into a salwar suit. I'm like, whoa. I said, how? She's like, YouTube. I learn everything on YouTube. I even learn cooking on YouTube. So I'm like, when did you start? No, she said after the pandemic, Jio came up with some plan, I think for 99 rupees or something like that. So I have data on my phone continuously. So I learn everything on YouTube. And I was like, that is EdTech. And we just covered, the children are covered. Adult learning is covered, right? Everybody, at least I think rural, semi-urban, everybody has access to a smartphone. So EdTech is playing a very huge role. It'll take, as you said, our country is very huge. To penetrate deep inside, it's going to take a long time. But I think we are making the right noises. And eventually, I think it is going to help. So now people know that, YouTube is free content. You can learn anything. So Learn with Comics is free content. You can learn anything, right? So wherever I go, I do a little bit of, I promote my own brand. So I go tell my security guard, I have this. So sometimes I take an Uber. I tell the driver, you know what? Don't worry about anything. You can learn with my comics. You don't have to pay 300 rupees for tuition. So that we're offering the same thing as YouTube. What YouTube does for video, we are doing for comics. So we have something called volunteer comics as well. So where we have volunteers doing comics. So eventually, I create an entire ecosystem where, everybody is making comics and the content is free. Anybody can learn any language anywhere in the world. So I think EdTech is playing a huge role. I was against online classes, personally. I'm not a big fan, but I know people who cannot have access to regular education, who cannot afford it. This is a boon. Like literally, we should have done this 5 years ago, considering we have the cheapest data in the world. We should have done this long time back across society, but we've started. So I think it's a really good move and it's going to play a huge role over the next 2 decades. I think it's going to be a great thing. And I'm really happy with the way things are shaping up.
I think sometimes it takes a worldwide pandemic for us to start doing the right thing.
Unfortunately, right?
But I mean, at least, like you said, this and the pandemic has sort of accelerated this push towards equitable quality education,
Right.
which is a great thing to see. All that being said, our education system isn't perfect. And I'd like to just ask you before we close, what do you think are some of the flaws that exist currently in the way we think about education as a society?
So that's a very, very simple answer. We confuse learning and education, right? So they're two different things. So learner people don't have to be necessarily educated, and educated people don't necessarily have to be learned, right? They are two different, completely different things. So our education system is focused towards marks and degree, right? So I call it the degree focused approach, right? What do you want to do? Say, I want to be a filmmaker. So you tell your dad, I want to be a filmmaker. Your dad will say, you first finish your degree, then you do whatever you want in the world. So we'll have 100 engineers wanting to make ad films, engineers wanting to be artists, engineers wanting to be fashion designers, and everything. So I just think that the flaw is, it should be skill based, right? You learn a skill, you do whatever you want later, right? So many engineers today, I'm taking engineers because they are the largest chunk of people who are not doing engineering today. So they say, no, my dad wanted me to study engineering, so I'm doing it. So you're not interested? No, I'm not interested in engineering. So 4 years, you're an engineer technically. So what do you know about engineering? Nothing. So what did you do? I just studied and passed my exams. So all our main goal in India is to clear our exams and get a degree. So basically, what learning should be the main thing. Degree should be a byproduct. So in our country, degree is the main thing. Learning is a byproduct. Finish a degree, chalega, then you do whatever you want. And that's a big flaw with every parent. They don't let you do what you want to do, right? Because earn a degree, that is the main thing. So I believe in more of skilling. If you teach somebody Python programming in 10th grade, maybe he doesn't even have to finish school, and he might be earning more than a graduate who's passed with honors. So I think that's a big flaw in the society, that it's a mindset change, and that's going to take a long time for things like that to change.
Yeah, I mean, uh, as it goes forward, the value of a college degree and what you can get with it is starting to diminish because there's so much you can learn online, as we just discussed. You can learn virtually anything.
Right.
Yeah, so that was all of the questions I had for you today. If you have any closing thoughts.
Now I'm thinking, first I just want to say you guys are doing a great job, and I've been seeing the other one, the entrepreneurs talking about education, and I think we are in good hands, assuming you're one generation below me. So I think people like you at your age, I don't think I could have done half the things that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
I couldn't even sit in front and talk to people. Getting on stage was a nightmare, right? And today you guys are doing it with such ease. I can see 6-year-olds making YouTube videos. I still can't get in front of a screen. As I said, adult mindset.
I think you did wonderful, absolutely wonderful today.
Thank you. So I talk to people like you, and we draw inspiration from people like you. Learning never stops. Just because people are younger than you doesn't mean you shouldn't learn from them. In fact, people like you are like amazing teachers.
You give us too much credit.
You guys. So especially you, I'm really, I really didn't have the maturity that you have right now. I didn't have. I couldn't speak to a person older than me like this. I used to really be so. I used to be sweating and all that. So I enjoyed this, and I'm really happy.
Thank you so much.
Right, you get more people aboard. Highlight the things that people are doing, and let's see. I think India is in safe hands. I had that doubt 10 years ago, but now I'm kind of confident that with people like you, I think we are.
I think it was your generation that sort of paved the way for us to take the risks that we are able to take right now.
We're not the greatest examples, but we're trying. But I think you guys will learn from our mistakes, and you guys are doing a great job. And I'm really happy that you guys had me over, and really, really good. I mean, the questions are also very thought-provoking, and I hope some people learn something from this.
Thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast with us today. And that's all we have.